a lot of people think that sales is like a God-given talent. I would disagree. I think sales can be taught as long as you follow a sales process. And I feel like a lot of people, they don't have a process in how do they do things, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, like with my guys, whenever I hire someone, we onboard them and we teach them about the sales process and what we need to do, what the sales psychology is with the seller, and the check boxes that we need to toggle off so that there's not like non-committal language or things that we need to figure out before the sale. Because what's worse than, hey, my offer got accepted, and then you get on the phone and then they ghost you and you never get the contract signed, right? So setting the proper expectations and following a replicatable sales process is very important.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Julian Castle. Today I'm going to talk with Fidel Guajardo. He's a 7-figure real estate entrepreneur. He's been wholesaling for about 3 years. He's been in the real estate space for about 3 years. He's going to be doing over 7 figures this year, and he's going to have a profit margins of 70%. He's got his own marketing channel, and he's got a YouTube channel, which you can check out. His name is Fidel Guajardo on YouTube. So check him out. Fidel, how you doing? Tell us a little bit about, how you got started into this journey.
Well, to answer your question, I'm great. I'm blessed. And we were talking a little bit about like how I get into it, but I got into real estate at the worst time. So I bought my first couple houses in 2022, right before the interest rates went crazy. So I bought my first couple houses, and then once I was done with the rehab, the interest rates were at like 7%. So my first deals were losses. And then that year I had a really good deal where I made like 70 grand. And that money I invested into like more marketing, because I figured out like, hey, I need to change my strategy. I got to be able to pivot where I don't hold on like so much risk.
Yeah.
But put that into coaching, and then we started like scaling the wholesaling, made a ton of mistakes. And now I feel like everything is aligned, the machine is running smoothly, the team is performing very good, and our marketing channels are cranking out deals, and our cost per contract is very low. Our profit margins are very high, and kind of going through all that stuff kind of made me reshift my focus. Instead of chasing revenue, chasing profit and building kind of like the business that you want to have in order to serve you as a founder to how much you want to make. Because I feel like we work way too hard for us not to net how much we want to net. So that's kind of what I preach now.
For sure, 100%. So you're on track to make 7 figures right now, right? This year. So can you tell us a little bit about your revenue per month on average, and your profit margins, and of course your team size?
For sure. Yes. So we have a 5-person team. I have 2 lead managers / appointment setters. I have 1 closer, and I have 1 dispo / manager that helps me oversee everyone, talking to the sales team with the marketing, all that stuff. And then for me, like I sit in the marketing seat and on the leadership, where I run the meetings, I run the weekly kind of KPIs, the goals, where I hold the team accountable and like everything with strategy. And kind of like my goal is just to train the team and give them the resources that they need in order to achieve those goals. So we run pretty lean and mean, and it's very efficient right now. Now we're starting to scale due to our marketing channels being very good. But to kind of give you a rough catch up on what's happened in the last couple of years, I feel like your first 2 to 3 years, you're going to be making a ton of mistakes. And it takes a while before you kind of figure out what works and what you need to do. So for example, like last year, we did over 7 figures, but our margins were not as big as they are right now. Why? Because I was not tracking like my KPIs. Like I didn't know where the revenue was coming from, and I was just throwing stuff to the wall and just hoping it would stick. And kind of like going through that and learning about that, it kind of just made me realize there had to be like a better way of wholesaling. So that made me learn the Facebook ads, right? And I launched that in January, and I think we spent like 4 to 5 grand the first month. And that first month we closed like 50 grand. The second month we kind of spent around the same, 5 grand, and we made like 60 grand. And then through like when I was learning it, I made like a couple mistakes in March where the conversion kind of dropped a little bit. But then in April, it picked back up where we're consistently getting at least 6 to 7 deals a month on Facebook with around 7,000 spent. And then the rest comes from PPC. But kind of the first half of the year, we're doing 6 to 7 deals. And then now we're kind of doing anywhere from 8 to 10. And the next goal is just getting to 15 while like protecting those profit margins. Because I know kind of what my overhead is and how much I need to spend in order to hit those goals. And that's kind of like a little bit of kind of like what the goal is. Last month we hit 223,000 in revenue with about like 75% profit margins. And then this month we're set to close like 80 grand this week. And we have like another 50 to 60K pending to close in the next like 2 weeks. And we're constantly like getting more deals as we go.
That's amazing. Wow. Congrats. Okay. So tell us a little bit about, how you're able to get such a big, I guess, average deal size, right? Because, most people struggle, they get $5,000-$10,000 assignment fees. Sounds like you're getting bigger assignment fees, and your ROAS is obviously, higher than most people. So tell us a little bit about how you're doing all that.
I'd say it's gonna come from like three things, right? Number one, your marketing. Number two, your sales process, and number three, your exit strategies, right? So my whole philosophy, like for example, when it comes to like Facebook stuff, is the people who submit the form, they want to sell. It's just a matter of who they're gonna sell to. And I would tell like all the people that these people are gonna sell to whoever they trust the most. So I tell my guys, hey, our job is to build the trust with the seller so that they can make a decision. And rather than coming like with a sales angle and like try to push them and sound like salesy, we do kind of like a consultation style approach, right? So we take kind of like, I've invested a lot of like in masterminds and coaching. So I take kind of like the best things that work from like everyone and just compile that into my own, right? So we use some of the NEPQ process from Jeremy Miner when it comes to like the intro. The first time that we talked to these sellers, like, hey, Mr. Seller, this is Fidel with RGV HomeBuyer. It seems like you found us on Facebook. Oh yeah. Well, what about the ad? Maybe you kind of want to look into this a little bit further, right? So basically we touch like on a whole lot of points when it comes to like the intro call. But when I say the sales process, a lot of people think that sales is like a God-given talent. I would disagree. I think sales can be taught as long as you follow a sales process. And I feel like a lot of people, they don't have a process in how they do things, right? So for example, like with my guys, whenever I hire someone, we onboard them and we teach them about the sales process and what we need to do, what the sales psychology is with the seller, and the check boxes that we need to toggle off so that there's not like non-committal language or things that we need to figure out before the sale. Because what's worse than, hey, my offer got accepted, and then you get on the phone and then they ghost you and you never get the contract signed, right? So setting the proper expectations and following a replicatable sales process is very important, but also training your team to constantly kind of improve them, give feedback, listening to their calls, understanding why we ask the questions that we ask, and basically always framing and setting the expectations with the seller that you're talking to about what's going to come next, right? So that's kind of a little bit on the sales process, and also on the tool belt on like your exit strategies. We can do wholesale, we can do novations, MLS listings, we can refer to agents. So I tell my team, hey, our job is very simple. We market, we talk to people, and we try to monetize it somehow, right? And I put a big emphasis on that because a lot of people try different marketing channels and they always blame the channel. Yeah, it may suck or whatever, but a lot of the times it comes to their sales process, right? Where basically the first step is for them to raise their hand and the rest is on your team to convert those. And like I said, like I already mentioned it, like our job is to build that trust with the seller and kind of help them make that decision and build that trust so that they can basically move forward. But we do kind of like all the extra strategies. Nowadays, I don't flip that much just because of the losses that I've had. So now I just want to minimize the risk, and we do a very good job with our dispo process as well, where we can sell deals pretty quick. But I'd say it comes to those three things: marketing, sales process, and exit strategies.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Total. So now let's talk a little bit about the markets, right? Because it matters a lot, right? So can you tell us a little bit about your philosophy when it comes to the markets? Like, how'd you pick it, or what markets you would recommend to go into?
Yes. So there's two things that I look at in a market. The number one thing that I would see is, okay, what's the average days on market on that specific market? And you want to pick something that has less than 60 days on market, ideally under 30, because we know that there's demand. And the second thing would be median house price. So we want to pick a market that has at least a median house price of $250,000. Why? Because if your cash offer is not accepted, you can still plug in a MLS listing or slash like novation where you market it on the MLS, and you can still offer probably 10, 15, 20% more than the cash offer, because then you can do innovation and attract retail buyers, mom and pop, first time flippers, where they're able to pay more than what your flipper would pay. And instead of like listing like way higher like ARV, you can list for like market value, accounting for the repairs, and then you can give a slight discount where you can still make a spread between what you offer them. Like, so you offer them cash, and then you met somewhere in the middle if you did like innovation, and then you can still make that spread. So that's why I say days on market and the median house price is very important, because there's three things that you can control, or three things that are most important when it comes to wholesaling. Number one is your CAC, or your cost per contract, or cost per deal. What's your average deal size, like how much you make per deal? So ideally you want it to be very low CAC, cost of acquisition, and very high profit margins. But then this another thing, the cash conversion cycle. So we know with real estate, it takes longer just because they need to get lenders, they're making like a big purchase. So that's why I like to focus on a market that has shorter days on market, especially nowadays that we're in a buyer's market, because that's going to play a role in how fast you make the money. So we want to shorten that gap as much as possible.
Gotcha. Great advice there. So let me ask you a question. How do you find out what the days on market are in a market?
Yeah, so basically you can, for example, for my MLS, I can log in, especially like in Texas, and you could do I think it's called the NPRR or something like that. And then you can research the market based on specific location, and it'll kind of give you like the last like 12 months of data. But I think also Redfin can be a good tool, like if you don't have like MLS access, where you kind of find out what are the median days on market, median house price, and all those things.
Gotcha. And so based on what you're doing right now, what is your average cost per acquisition? And then what is your average deal size?
Yeah, so I did it last month. Our average was 22 and a half. 22,500 average deal size, and our cost per contract is around $1,000, probably $1,200 when it comes to like closed deals. So we have a 70% success rate, meaning that if we contract 10, 3 may fail off, title issues, or maybe it needed more repairs than we thought, and they don't want us to list it or whatever. But that's kind of like what it's at right now. And then last year, when I had this big realization of not tracking my KPIs, my cost per contract was like $5,000, because I was accounting for like, I put a YouTube video about this, about my worst real estate mistakes. And basically, I think I spent probably like $230 in marketing. And from that, I made $600 from PPC. So on PPC, I spent 90 grand. And then it was like 130,000 that I spent in other channels that did like a 1x, to like nothing, where
Wow.
I could have put that money in PPC and made over probably like 1.5 million at like way more profitable like margins.
Yeah.
Um, but just kind of like a comparison on, okay, it used to be 5,000 and now it's like 1,000, maybe like 1,500. So we're talking about like 60% better cost per deal. So if you were to keep your same spend, you can double your business by just controlling your cost of acquisition.
For sure. That makes a lot of sense. That sounds like a great video, guys. You should watch it. Now, let me ask you this. The cash conversion cycle. So obviously, I mean, you can tell us, but like wholesale deals are, shorter time frames, and then novations are bigger time frames. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you is in regards to like when you're listing an novation, I know that some properties may need work. And so, are you doing some of this work? Like, you're doing like handyman repairs and getting it like inspection ready, or what happens when like the property doesn't pass inspection, and you can't get a conventional buyer or an FHA buyer, like what kind of things do you do in that scenario?
Yeah, so we will do lender required repairs, and then we cover that from our fee because we're trying to underwrite conservatively. Like if we need to do like any sort of repairs, I've done the whole like where we put the money in the rehab before we buy it, and I have a really good story where like I helped a seller like I helped them out a lot. Like they had a solar loan, so I was able to renegotiate that like even less because they couldn't sell the house because the value was not there, and then buyers didn't want to take on the panels, and then they had to move, and they were going through all this financial stuff. So I negotiated with the solar lender, and then I put
Yeah.
like 40K into the house, increased the value, ended up making like I don't know like 12 grand. But looking back, I don't want to put
Wow.
myself in risky positions. So
Yeah.
nowadays we don't do that. What we do is we take in consideration the market value and we list it, and then we have like an open conversation with the seller. And it's like, hey, if you want us to buy it, like our price would be like down here. Like we are kind of like aggressive with the underwriting, and if not, we could do this option and kind of see what's out there with the market. Like you still won't pay the closing costs or commissions, but basically we'll list it and try to get feedback and try to sell it kind of like the way that it is, accounting for all those repairs and pre-framing with any agent or buyer like, hey, the property is priced to sell due to the repairs, so it's going to be sold as is.
Gotcha.
And yeah, what was the other question?
Well, the question was is like you'll do lender repairs, right? And
Yep.
so, what happens if like you have a price to sell, but then the buyer is like, I don't know, for some reason it's just not like they can't get the
Yeah.
financing because of it. So like, what happens?
Okay. So basically, we'll do what we need to do in order to sell it. So if we need to put some money, for example, I'm dealing with one that we're closing in 2 weeks, where it was conventional, but then the lender said that, hey, it needs like foundation. So we're fronting some of the money for the work to start, and
Yeah.
then the guy that's doing the foundation is gonna get the rest once the deal closes. So when that specific scenario happens, it's like, hey, like we don't mind investing the money, but also the buyer has to be ready to like have the funds and like close on the property, because if we're committing to it, I mean, it can be risky. So we just have like an open conversation with the buyer agent and be like, hey, we kind of just negotiate what we need to do in order to account for the risk and the repairs, but in order to control our margin as well. So we're not afraid to do that. And then we vet kind of like the lender and the buyer. We talk to the lender like, hey, how strong is your buyer? Kind of what's going on. And then based on that is when we decide whether or not we're going to do like a repair. But most of the time they're like small repairs. Maybe we spend a couple $1,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and we account that from our fee.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. And so when you're talking to the lenders and the buyers, how is it that you kind of like essentially qualify your buyer to make sure that he's a buyer that will actually close and not like leave you at the altar?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So the way that we do our novations and like listing on the MLS is we do it through our listing agents. So first of all, whoever works with us, like we vet them. So we want to make sure that they're like closing deals and that they're good at their craft. Because there's so many agents and not all of them do deals. So the most important thing for me, and when I talk to someone, is like, hey, I know some people do like flat fee listings and stuff. I don't like that, just because I don't like how it sounds like that they are talking to us, and even though we're kind of have power of attorney over the seller, I just want it to be like a smooth transaction where the buyer agent like kind of doesn't know anything. So basically, to answer your question, my real estate agent does. And we have kind of like specific frame of what we ask. Is like, hey, is the buyer actually like qualified? Because many people will put offers with the pre-qualification, and then they'll close it like after it's on the contract. So we ask, okay, how strong is the buyer? How does the financing look? Is there anything that we should be worried about? And those are kind of like the main three things that we ask. And then just based on our market, we kind of know which are kind of like the best mortgage companies and which are not. So like if we don't have an offer and it's someone that we've used before, we just kind of rephrase it like, hey, we've worked with you guys before and we've not kind of pleased us as how the process has been. So please let us know what's going on and if we can close this on time, because like our goal is to sell this as quick as we can. And like also like if your buyer's not going to be ready, so that we have another option that we can present pretty much. But that's kind of what we do and how we do it. Yeah.
That makes sense. Is there like, if you're putting up money for repairs, like, to get the house ready to be sold, do you have the buyer put in some earnest money deposit that's non-refundable?
Yeah.
So
yes, I do.
How does that look like? Yeah.
Yeah. So for this one, for example, for the foundation, it's like, hey, we don't mind doing it, but we need you to increase your EMD so that if you don't close on it, like we'll keep that money. And then we do protect our money as much as possible, because one of the other mistakes I've made is like where I'm way too nice with the seller. I know that our goal is like to help them, but also make money. And I've been through this enough times where it's like, okay, I need to be as much as like I'm a softie, like for these people, like we need to make money, and I don't want to be in that position again. So now we just set proper expectations from the get-go. For example, like if we talk to a seller and we did the offer based on what they told us, whenever we see the property, if something's off from what they told us, they're like, hey, Mr. Seller, like you told us X, Y, and Z, and the property, it's not like you told us, it's like this. So for that fact, I mean, we need to take this in consideration. So our price is not going to be this. We probably are going to need to be over here. We're still going to market it. And if we can set it and help you at that price, we'll do it. But if not, just know that we're probably going to have to kind of renegotiate, and we'll kind of let you know kind of what the feedback is from our buyers and all of that.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, cool. So so you do get earnest money from the buyer. That makes sense. Yeah. Cool. And then what markets are you currently doing, right now?
Yeah. So I'm in South Texas in a small city town called McAllen. It's a border town. It's funny because when people ask me, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'm from South Texas. And they're like, oh, like San Antonio? I'm like, nah, it's like even 4 hours down south. So it's basically like border town with Mexico. And some people are surprised, like, oh, you do that many deals over there? And I'm like, yeah, it's just like a growing market. But we do probably like 80% of our deals here in my market. It's called like McAllen, Hidalgo County, and Cameron County. And then the rest, 20%, is kind of statewide in Texas, like Houston, San Antonio, Dallas. We do a lot of stuff over there as well. But that's kind of like,
Okay, that's cool. And so you're mostly doing like over the phone appointments, right? Or are you actually driving?
Yeah, so it's pretty much like 90% virtual. Maybe like 10% we'll set appointments. It just depends. Like some people are older and they're like, oh, I don't want to do this over the phone. But I'd say like 90% is actually over the phone and 10% in person, if anything.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so tell me a little bit about how you do your offers. Okay, so you're, obviously you're underwriting for novation, right? Because that makes the most money. So how is it that you obviously find out maybe the price I could sell, but is it like you do minus 10%, that's 3% buyer's agent, 3% seller's agent, and then I guess there's 4% there for buffer minus your fee, or like what's kind of like, how's the process? How do you do that?
Yeah, so how we underwrite is we have a calculator and it spits out two offers: the MLS/novation offer and the cash price. So basically, the way that we have it set up is ARV minus all the fee, like picture costs, realtor commissions. We pay 4% total, but that's just
Okay.
because we do a lot of volume. And
Yeah.
then we account for like 1% in closing costs because we pay the seller's closing cost. And then the calculator, what it's going to do, it's going to take the ARV minus all those things. And then we have another section for repairs. So let's say the property is worth 200,000 remodeled. We'll take all that stuff into consideration with our MAO, max allowable offer in cash and novations, and we'll account for the repairs where we'll list it kind of like market price. So whatever the ARV is minus how much we think it needs in repairs, and then we'll do like an extra probably like 5%. We'll start off at like 5% off of that number, just so that we list cheap enough and we get traction. And basically on our novations, we try to make at least like 30,000. Sometimes we land in like the 20, 22, 20, 25 mark after kind of like doing some repairs and accounting for that extra misc. And then the other offer is the cash, where we do it. So our median house price here is like 230, 240. And whenever we do our max level offer, we're budgeting for like 60K in spread, where we can still, like, if we need to buy it and sell it, we'll do that. Or if we can wholesale it at that 60K spread mark after like all the closing costs, commissions, and repairs, there's enough meat on the bone for us to dispo it or buy it or do something with the property. So whenever we do our offers, it's a three-step process. So number one is the lead comes in. My lead managers are going to qualify the lead, right? So we mainly look for two things. One, are they urgent? Meaning, if we come to a fair price, are they ready to sell? Yes or no? If it's a yes, good. That's one of the things that we look for. Number two is motivation. Is there anything with the situation that would make them want to sell to us? Like, are they moving away from pain where there's distress, or are they moving towards pleasure? What I mean by towards pleasure is like some people may not be distressed, but they like the convenience factor of just selling fast where they're able to take a discount, right? So with the sales process on the qualification side, those are the two things that we take a look at. Are they urgent and are they motivated? If yes, then my lead manager is going to set up the expectation like, hey, this sounds like a property that we're interested in. It just kind of really depends on the kind of like the extra things that we need to talk about, like, you know, condition of the property, your next steps moving forward, anything we need to figure out with you before you decide to sell. Okay, so that's number one, right? And my team does a really good job at setting the expectation that my closer is going to call them. So it's one and then two. Okay, so once it's a qualified opportunity, we set the appointment where my closer is going to call them, and we call that the reprocess call, because we don't want the lead manager to build more rapport than him, since my closer is going to be the one that's going to be negotiating. So he sets the expectation like, hey, I'm the home buying specialist. My goal is to give you kind of like the best offer. If at any point you think we're not going to be a good fit, just let me know and I'll do the same. But basically, I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So some of the questions that I may ask you may be sounding repetitive, but just know that my goal is that I get all the information necessary in order to give you the best offer so that I can help you move forward to the next stage of your life. And we do what's called same site selling, where it's my closer and the seller like teamed up together against me, like the big bad partner, because I'm the kind of the one that sets how much the property qualifies for. So his job is kind of build a rapport and try to get a price that they can fight for. After the initial take, he'll do the reprocess, and then the way our process is, we have a group chat where he sends all the notes of the conversation. What's their asking price? What's the motivation? What's the condition of the property? The influencers, their next steps moving forward, all of that. And then we kind of talk about the property. We get pictures from the seller to take it. And then we account and we underwrite. And then we send out the offer to the closer. So then the third call is like after he goes over the second call, he sets the expectation like, hey, okay, Mr. Soto, I mean, based on what you're trying to do, I mean, how much do you need in your pocket in order to move forward? And then basically he's like, okay, so the next step is I need to talk over with the financial partner. They're the one that set the price and how much the property qualified for. So for our next call, we're gonna go over, so we set the expectation one more time. Okay, we're gonna be going over what it looks like if you decide to work with us, so that there's no like fear or anything that's going on, so that they always know what's going on. And two, we'll let you know what the property qualifies for after all is said and done, and all the next steps moving forward. Does that sound fair enough? Yes. Okay, can I call you at 4 p.m.? Yes. Okay, great. Just so you know, that phone call is gonna take 5 to 10 minutes, and I will be going over X, Y, and Z, and the next steps moving forward. And then on the third call, he kind of lets them know, hey, this is what you want to walk away with minus the closing costs and commissions. Like, you won't pay for that. This is what you net in your pocket. The only thing you account for is the mortgage and your property taxes. Besides that, we take care of everything. With that being said, your property qualifies for, boom, and then he'll say the number. We usually do probably like 20K below. We start with 20K below the max allowable offer on the cash. And then if that doesn't work, if the seller was asking here, and then my closer gives out the offers, like, well, I know you're over here and we're over here. I mean, where we need to be at in order to make a deal happen? And they usually kind of drop them, and we kind of explain our MLS pitch, where it's like, hey, a lot of the houses that we buy, we resell. So we have a lot of people in our book of business where our job is to help them get into properties, but also help you as well to get your goal. So if we were able to pay you more, would you be flexible on the closing date? Instead of closing in 30 days, could we close in 90, maybe 120 days? They're like, oh, yeah, okay. Like, okay, the second thing I would need would be reasonable access into the property. So due to our big book of business being so big, some of the people that we may sell this to would want to see the property. And like I said, our job is to kind of help them get into the property and help you get your goal as well, get your price as well. So they may want to see it. Is there a way that you can give us access to the property at pre-scheduled times? We'll let you know 24 hours in advance, whatever. They'll be like, oh yeah, okay, cool. I mean, this sounds like something that we may be able to do. It just kind of comes down to the price. If I was able to do, so he already has an MAO on the novation, a max offer on the novation, and he'll stay probably like 10 grand below that, and we'll just try to negotiate somewhere in the middle where we can look it up and do our MLS process. But that's kind of the 60-second version of the whole sales process.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so if I got this correctly, it's pictures, agent fees, which are 4%, and then closing costs, which are 1%. So it's like usually like 5%. Would you say?
5% minus rehab, minus like another 5% market price adjustment, just due to it being a market. I'm sorry, due to it being a buyer's market.
Right. So minus 5% minus repairs. Okay, gotcha. And then your fee, right?
Yep.
Okay, and so you're always calculating like 30 or 40, right? But then you may land in the 20s.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. And what do you use for pictures? Is this something that the realtor gets, or how do you set up the property in a way that is attractive for the buyers that are, coming to look at the property?
Yeah. So the first initial photos that we get them from the seller in order to give our kind of like our best offer to them. So after that, we got the MLS offer accepted. Then we set the expectations. Okay, we're gonna set up the photos, and then we're gonna be letting you know everything that's going on in order to get this done at the price that you agreed. We're gonna be marketing the property in order to get it sold as quick as possible. So with that, we do need the access. We'll be letting you know who's gonna be going and at what time. With some agents, we pay the fee of the pictures, and some of our agents, they pay the cost of that, and then they just account it from their commission, just because we do like a lot of volume. But that's kind of like the process of how we do it.
Gotcha. And so those pictures, like, they're taken as is. Like, the seller doesn't really stage anything, right? It's not like a whole process to get those pictures, or is it? Like,
sometimes, depending, like if it's very dirty, we'll let them know, like, hey, can you help us kind of clean? If not, we'll invest the money and have the home clean. Because that extra $300 that's going to cost you to clean it can have like a huge ROI, because you can get like an extra 10, 15K. Because something I found is like buyers, they can't see past the little things where they're kind of like spoiled. So for example,
Yeah.
like if they didn't like that, it was dirty, they're like, oh, like they'll want to offer like 20K below, it's like, it's crazy.
Right. Right.
Or
Right. Right.
sometimes like they can't see past, like they don't like the color of the inside, right? That costs 4 or 5 grand. So
Right.
nowadays, if it's in very bad condition, we'll just try to clean it up and just make it as picture um, perfect as possible, where we just try
Yeah.
to market the best product possible from the get-go.
Gotcha. And so these pictures, there's just like a good photographer, right? I'm assuming,
Yep.
right? Like comes in.
Yep.
And how
Yep.
much are those pictures cost usually?
Probably it's for like 150 bucks, 180 bucks, not that much.
Okay, nice, nice, interesting. Okay, cool. All right, that sounds pretty good. Okay, so I think we've gone over quite a bit of things. So let me ask you a little bit about your team, okay? Because obviously it's important, when you hire the team, right? So tell me how you find your team, how'd you pick them, how'd you train them, all that.
Cool. So the first two people that I hired, so one is my sister, and then the other one is a guy that I found through like this VA girl. But both have been with me for like 3 years. So it
Yeah,
wasn't perfect in the beginning. A lot of that was on me as the owner and founder, where I need to everything's gonna circle back to you as the owner. So you
yeah,
gotta
yeah,
hold extreme ownership, and you can't blame people because everything is your fault. Is
for
if you're
sure.
not getting the results, if you're not getting the results that you're trying to get, it's your fault. You can't be blaming anyone
Yeah,
but you. So there's a lot of growth that happened in the last couple of years with myself and how I came and coached them and trained them and held them accountable. So I had to work a lot on myself first before I
yeah,
could push that onto them, right? But to answer your question, one my sister, the other one was through a VA. And then as time progressed, like we do invest in sales training, I had to invest in like coaching them and building out SOPs. In the beginning, it was hard because I'm like, oh, like I'm the bread maker and it'll make all this money. I don't think my time is worth it. But later on, you realize
yeah,
that your team is everything. So you need to give them the resources that they need. So there's been a lot of growth from them. I'm very proud of them. They've grown so much.
yeah.
And the other one, the closer. So before I got into real estate, I used to sell cars. I was a car salesman. And me
Nice.
personally, like I hated that. Like I remember being there
Yeah,
and be like, oh man, why am I here? What am I doing here? But I found them through the leadership that I used to work
yeah,
at. So he got out because they didn't give him like a management position. So he was already doing deals. And I know that he would talk to me on Instagram like, hey, I'd like to give this a shot and all that. So I was kind of hesitant in the beginning. But one thing I've realized is like if salespeople are good, um, as long as you give them like a good sales process and training and onboard them properly, you can teach them that sales process. So once you instill that into them and give them training on what they need to do from A to C, if they are savages, they will get you results. So what you need to do is just kind of give those resources back to them and coach them and train them so they start performing. So for example, my guy, his name's Vinny. In 30 days, he got 30 contracts. It's
what?
crazy. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane, bro.
It's crazy. Yeah. So that kind of was a game changer. And then my other guy, who's like my manager, he's great as well because now I don't need to be so much in the day to day where he can help me offload a lot of things off my plate. Where now I spend time driving the business forward because I know that everyone is aligned with kind of like the mission, and I know that I can trust them to make the decisions that we need to do in order to push the business forward. But I think like now, like everyone's very aligned. Um, and a lot of the times, I think you can find great people through your inner circle or like referrals or maybe like a friend that can refer you to someone. And
Yeah,
one thing that I will preface would be having your core values set with your company where you know exactly, kind of what are the core value fits that you want a person to have in your company. For example, for us, our core values are integrity, faith, teamwork, and driven, right? And
nice.
each of those core values have some sort of like meaning. where they need to be aligned, right? For example, I was looking to like a friend like last week. And he's like, oh yeah, like my guy didn't show up, and then he sent me a photo that he was with a girl, and I'm like, bro, like I would get rid of him immediately because it's not a core value fit, right? You need to set up those core values, and anyone that is not aligned or equally yoked as you, that's not going to be a good fit. But I think you can find great people through your inner circle, and then you can also do like the standard like hiring on Indeed and stuff. I've made some posts there, but for me, the main thing is like, okay, can I trust them? Yes. Are they coachable? Yes. 3, are they hungry? I think those are kind of like the main things that I look at. And are they a core value fit? Do I align with them? Do I like them? Kind of like all that stuff. Would I want to drink a beer with them and talk to them? And that's very important.
Yeah, got you. Okay, that makes sense. So how do you pay your people? Like, what is kind of like, strategy?
So I have them on a base salary. It'll range anywhere from 1,500 to like 2,000, and then I pay the lead managers and the closers on net profit, and it'll range anywhere from 5% to 7%. And then we're gonna start incorporating quarterly bonuses. So if we hit kind of like the goal, they get paid more.
Gotcha. So a lead manager will get 5, for example, and then the closer will get 7, right? So plus your base, and so okay, all in. That makes sense. And then you mentioned you have 2 lead managers, 1 closer, and 1 dispo, right? Or manager, 1 dispo manager.
Yeah, dispo / manager of the whole business. Yeah.
And so how do you pay him?
For him, he's on salary, and I have him on 2% commission of the net profit if we hit 150K per month. So it'll be like a 6-figure position, and then usually, of course, like sales is gonna make more than management positions. But I have kind of like the plan where everyone, lead managers, so the closer will make mid probably 150-ish in the next like 12 months, just because he does like 10 deals a month, right? So if we're averaging 20K per deal, where that's over 150K per month in revenue times 7% plus the salary, you're in the 12, 13, 14, 15K mark, and they get to work from home and all that stuff, right? And also the lead managers, I mean, 5% of 20K is probably what, like 1,000?
2,500,
Yeah, they're like held accountable because in the back end, you got to reverse engineer your marketing where you need to know, okay, how many appointments you need to set, how many offers you need to set, and how many contracts do you get on average. So for us, we know that out of 4 offers we send out, we're going to contract 1 deal, and then everything kind of get reverse engineered from a lead where you're funneling in the leads, and then we kind of have our conversions. So basically our lead to net lead ratio is probably like 60%. And then from that 60%, we'll set an appointment with probably 50% of that. So it kind of works out to, we set up anywhere from 15 to 20 appointments per week.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. And then I was gonna ask you something. So when you're working with your sister, like how is that? Because like it's family, it's a relationship, how is that? Like they have to be aligned, they have to perform and all that. Because I have a brother who I would love for him to join me, right? And so I'd like to know what your take on it, and bringing in family members, because I don't want to take it on if it's like something that like it's gonna, I don't know.
With family, it's kind of tough. So I'd say everyone has to be like on the same page. But for example, for my sister, like she didn't have like sales experience or anything, but she has really good like customer service style like approach where it's perfect for like lead manager position. And like I was talking earlier, like in the beginning, I wasn't doing like a great job as a leader on like training them, where I just expected things without clearly communicating, where maybe when they asked me a question, I wasn't answering like the best way possible, where I could equip them to get the answer to the question. So in the beginning, it was kind of like, up and down, but I needed to have like honest conversations with her and be like, hey, well, I mean, I'm spending all this money, you know, I'm stressed, like you're my sister and they kind of need to perform and this is what we need to do X, Y, and Z. And just having those conversations of what's to be expected. And not because you're like my sister, it means that you get like more like benefits. Everyone has to be on the same page because, you know, I'm spending all this money to give you guys the opportunities where if you convert them, you're going to make more money, which is kind of like the goal. But also I feel like the culture of the company is very good where like they can work from home, like they have unlimited kind of time off as long as they're hitting the metrics. And I'm very like approachable in that way. So to answer your question, it would just be okay, figuring out everyone's on the same page and then what's to be expected and then setting the foundation and forecasting kind of what the revenue would look like and what they need to do in order for them to achieve their goal. And then of course, being honest with yourself and looking at yourself in the mirror, like, okay, is my business able to produce this based on their goals that they're trying to hit? I think that would be kind of like my advice, just setting up the foundation, setting the expectations and what's to be required of that.
Gotcha, that makes sense. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your secret marketing channel, the sauce, you know?
Yeah.
So Facebook ads, I mean, there's creative, there's the ad copy, the targeting, like, you know, how does that, I guess?
Yeah, so someone was managing my account last year and when I was seeing the ads, I was like, dude, I think I can do this. And then this book, okay. I had already read it, but I reread it like a third or fourth time. Yeah. Uh-huh. And Hermoso talks about like when he learned Facebook ads on gym launch, when he had his gym. Yeah. And just, he talks about like the results that he had. And I'm like, dude, like, I think I can do this. Like, I'm just tired of like all these other marketing channels. Like, and then I was bought into the idea of like, oh yeah, investors are like not good at like learning stuff or like they're dumb or whatever. So that's kind of like the worst belief that you could have. So now I challenge anyone like, hey, you can do anything you set your mind to. So that was a belief that I had to kill, but that's what sparked my interest in learning it. And then I just basically, I kind of read it. And then one of my friends used to work for Facebook. I paid her to teach me kind of like the basic stuff. And then I just went to town. I was not afraid to spend my money testing it and figuring it out like on my own. Mm-hmm. But basically all marketing works. It's just a matter of being intentional with what you're putting out there and giving it enough time to make the most out of it. So people can get great results with agencies, but I don't think you're going to get like a 10 out of 10 experience. You're usually going to get like a 6 to 7 out of 10 experience just because their attention is spread across like multiple people. Yeah. So now what I preach is like, hey, the most valuable skill besides sales is learning how to do your own marketing, because ROI wise, like the results can be like infinite, right? Because like I was saying earlier, what are the two levers that you control in your business that has the most outcome on your bottom line? Cost per contract and how much you make. How much you make is sales. We don't outsource sales. We have it in-house. So why should we outsource marketing where it's something that has a huge impact on our bottom line? So that's kind of like my philosophy. And it's like, okay, rather than you having to pay an agency, how about like kind of we teach you how to do like all that stuff where you get the creative, the ad copies, the whole like concept of how it works on the back end so that you can take ownership of that role. Because ROI wise, if you drop your cost per contract from $5,000 to 1,000, like I did, I mean, what's that going to do to your business? It's all adding to your bottom line, right? But to answer your question, what makes us better or really good at it is, one, we have good creatives, right? We don't put out like the standard that everyone is putting out. I myself, I'm in a lot of the videos like for my market. So what I tell people is like, hey, you got to show yourself kind of relatable, where you don't sound like salesy or your ad does not look like an ad, and it's more kind of like a conversation, right? So we do that friendly neighborhood buyer approach where, hey, this is Fidel with RGV HomeBuyer. If you have a house that you're looking to sell, maybe you don't want to deal with a realtor or deal with the repairs or the agents, click on the link down below and let's see how we can help you. And just kind of being relatable and then testing enough angles so that you find what kind of works in your market when it comes to like the video scripting, the ad copy, and the headline. But I'd say it's a combination of the creative, the ad copy, and the headline, and just having a really good team behind it all in order to convert those leads pretty much.
That's amazing. What's your cost per lead right now?
Like $30.
Let's go. I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. And you're doing it in a market that has a high price point. So that's why, it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah. So it's not that high. So it's probably like median, like I said, it's like probably like 230, like on average. So the thing where I'm at is like it's a bunch of little cities like compiled together, and it varies from city to city. But the reason why I like novations is that you can implement that strategy, and even if it's like, for example, like we closed on a house yesterday, we had it for like 45K and we sold it for 60. I mean, it's still super cheap, but you can still make a decent spread.
It's like 17K right there.
Yeah. So we made like 18K. But yeah, that's what it comes down to, the CPL, more or less.
That's cool. Awesome. That's really interesting. And all right, so let us give us a little bit of a breakdown. So if I'm a solopreneur, right? I have my business. I'm a wholesaler. Like, I'm the revenue, maker, the rainmaker, whatever. Who should be the first person I hire, right? And then I guess if you follow-up questions would be like, what would be after, in order to scale?
The number one question I would encourage the people to ask themselves is like, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? Because I think you can be a solopreneur and make 200, 300K a year. And I actually made a YouTube video on this, like about the three business models that you can pick from. But basically, depending of what your goal is. So if your goal is to make 100K, 200K, 300K, it's going to be different than someone trying to make 400, 500, 600, a million, right? But I'd say first hire would be so you're probably going to need an admin to help you offload some of that admin work from your place so that you can focus on what you do best. So if you're the rainmaker, you're the money maker, then your time is best spent talking to sellers, right?
Yeah.
And the thing about novations is like you can partner up with realtors where they offload the dispo on your behalf. But I would probably say reverse engineer how much you're trying to make. So like, let's say, give me an example like of a number.
Let's say we're trying to make. Let's say we're trying to make 600,000.
Okay.
A year.
I would say you're gonna need a lead manager and you're gonna need a closer.
Okay.
So lead manager, closer, and then you would sit on, like you can take on some sales calls and help them out, but then a lot of your time is gonna be spent talking to title company, dispo, doing the admin work with your assistant or whatever, running the leadership team, kind of like doing all those things, right? So you're still gonna be very invested, but with a small team, you can still accomplish very good things. Because you get the lead manager, you get the closer, you buy back some of your time that way, and then your other time is spent on making sure those deals close so that you get that revenue in, right? What else would I say on that? You can hire some like TC companies to offload the TC work from you. For us, we have it in-house where we pay $300 the person just to take over all that stuff. But I'd say those would be like my main two hires, probably like a lead manager and a closer. That's what I would probably get to, yeah.
That makes sense. And what about if you're trying to make $1 million?
Yeah, if you're trying to make $1 million, I would say probably like 2 lead managers, 1 closer, and then you probably need someone in the dispo seat, and then you need to have a TC person in there, and you can make $1 million with 4 to 5 person team.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Interesting. So let me ask you, so we've talked about a lot of things here. What things haven't we talked about? I think tell us a little bit about your leadership journey. Like you mentioned some of your biggest struggles, I guess the last 2 years, prior to this year have been like leadership struggles. So what are you doing in order to be a better leader, have better leadership and, kind of implement that in the company that you have?
Yeah, so one of the biggest transitions is going from hustler to CEO slash founder slash owner. And that can be tough on a lot of people, but I feel like you need to take that step in order to grow your company. Because like if you're making 100, 200, 300K, I mean, you're kind of like hustling, right? I mean, you have like a high paying job where
Yeah.
everything is your fault and everything comes from you. But in order to scale, you are going to be able to attract good people, push them, give them the resources necessary in order for them to succeed, but then also caring about them and communicating in a way that they understand what the goal is, but where also you are strict enough where they know what's to be expected and you don't get taken advantage of. But then also where you have a working environment where people are happy where they're at, but then you also enjoy going to work and doing your things and doing all those things, right? There's a really good book that I recommend people reading. It's called The Motive. The Motive, I think that's what it's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah.
Have you read
It
it?
is called, it's the book that Layla recommended, Alex.
Oh,
Right?
that's funny. I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So I read that, and then basically the book talks about like two founders.
Yeah,
One
I
is not
have read, yeah.
yeah, one's not a good leader, and then the other one is a good leader. And then revenue wise, one does crazy work. He loves meetings. He loves talking to the team, and the other guy hates it. He hates running the meetings. He hates doing all that stuff. Um, and basically, the guy that loves the meetings, they make more money.
Yeah.
So for me, like I used to hate meetings, running the meetings, and now like I like it because I like talking to the team. I like to hold them accountable, and I just enjoy talking to them and just doing cool things together, right? But
Yeah.
I think that book kind of really opened my eyes on what I need to do and how much I need to care for them. Because the more that I care, the better that they perform. Um, and you can't have a great company without great people. And I know everyone has heard it, but it's true. And I just realized
Yeah.
that like as of a couple months ago, where like I said, like my team is in tune and I trust them, and I think we're at a really good spot. So that was one of the limited beliefs that I had, that I knew where people were out there, but I don't know why I didn't believe that it would be held true to like my own company, right? So
Yeah.
there's great people out there, and then don't think of it as an expense, because if they perform, I mean, they are going to be making 4 or 5x whatever it costs to hire them, right? And then you buy back your time, which can help you focus on the other things to push the business forward.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay, cool. And so, yeah, that's a great book. I love that book. Now, when it comes to like, how you spend your time, what are you doing now at your company? Like, how does it look like to be at your seat, right? Like,
Yeah. So now I'd say that 80%, yeah, 80% of my wholesale business is delegated, where the 20% I'm sitting in that marketing seat and overseeing. So I don't have to be in the weeds like a whole lot more.
mhm.
But now what I'm trying to grow is the coaching business. And now what I'm doing, like I'm trying to grow my brand, and like I'm putting out more content, more valuable content, because one of the realizations that I had was I actually went to Hermosi's event in January at the workshop, and for me it
Yeah,
just became clear how big personal brand is, and it's basically like the main lever to everything that you want to do when it comes to acquiring talent, growing your audience, making more money, serving more people. Where I think like last year I was like, oh, I would never want to be a coach. But I think that each and every one of us have something valuable that we have inside of us that we do very well, where you can help someone else. So let's say you're over here and a person is over here. You can help them get from here to here, and you don't need to be an expert to help them get, better, right? So I just feel like
Right.
going through like all the things that I've gone through, like I've learned very valuable lessons, and I've learned what not to do and what you need to do, because I have like there was a time in my business where I was not doing it, and I know how important it is. So I just like to nail it like in their heads, like, hey, stop doing that. You need to do this because I did it and I missed out like on so much money. But a lot of my time nowadays is, since I'm trying to grow like the coaching side, a lot of time is spent with the clients over there, talking to them, putting out more content, and basically still talking to my team on both sides in order to just kind of get better and just keep on growing. But I do work a lot. So usually like my day will start from like 9 till like 7. So I take like a break for lunch, probably like an hour break somewhere in there. And then at night, I will kind of plan out like content and record and do all that stuff. But yeah, like Monday through Friday goes by so fast. And then on the weekends, I take it easy where I'll work like a couple hours. One thing I found is like I need to work at least a little bit on the weekends, because I need to kind of like get ahead, where there was a time where I would like dread Mondays, where it's like, oh, what BS is going to happen this week, right? But I found that like, at least for me, like I need to keep that momentum going of like wins, so that I go into the week ready to go and ready to rock and roll. So I just found like working a little bit, at least like on the weekends, kind of keeps my winning streak going, and it helps like even more like on the next week. But on the weekends, like I'm with my wife. We're having our first baby, God willing, in December. So yeah, thank you, first time dad. Besides that, like I'll spend some time with the family. Nowadays, I think like for this season that I'm in, like I feel like I really need to hammer down like the work, because I know once baby comes, like I won't have as much time. So I'm just trying to set up like processes and just make everything better and build that foundation, so that when the time comes, I can spend the time with my wife and help her out with whatever she needs, like with the baby. But I feel like I really like learning, and I think over the last 3 years, I spent close over more than 200,000 invested in education. So a lot of my money, I buy like courses, masterminds, mentorships, whatever. Just because like I'm a very curious person, and I just love the process of just getting better, right? Just getting better, progressing, not being stagnant. Because like for me, I feel like if I'm not making progress, I'm dying. And it's something that I've had to work on, where some things just take time, and that's the reality of things, right? Things are going to be hard, but you got to be okay just waiting and keep on doing the thing you need to do, because over a long time horizon, as long as you never quit, you're going to get results, or you'll get through your tough times or through those like lows, right? And I feel that the difference between the winners and the losers are who sticks to it long enough. And I know Hermosi even says like the difference between winners and losers are that winners define themselves as to what they made happen, where losers define themselves as what happened to them. So yeah, just kind of having extreme ownership and realizing everything's your fault, and everything is an input of you as a person and what you need to do and the things that you need to focus on in order to kind of get what you're trying to get.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, and then what do you look forward to? Like, what are your goals right now? Like, you know, you mentioned like your wholesaling business. It sounds like you have a personal brand goal. Like, is there any things, like other things you're looking forward? Any other things you're looking forward to get?
Financially, I mean, I do have like monetarily goals, but I feel like it's just a matter of time before I hit them. But it all kind of just comes down to what I was telling you. Like, I just enjoy just getting better as a person and pushing myself, and just being in like bigger rooms and just like keep on like learning. I know some people have like a 3-year plan, 5-year plan, and all that stuff. I don't have that. only thing I look forward to is kind of like the next 3 months. Yeah, I just think it's like way too hard because things can change so fast. So I think being able to pivot is very important. But where I feel like as long as I like what I'm doing and I'm progressing, that's the thing that I look forward to. Eventually, like some of the things that I think like I'll do is probably like buy into businesses or start like different businesses where maybe I come in and I put in like my leadership and SOPs and processes and sales and marketing and help a business kind of grow. Because I feel like for real estate and like at least like the coaching world, it's just like a cash flow business. But you kind of need to have your long-term play where you build like enterprise value and you can sell the company or whatever. But kind of just overall just enjoy just being in business and just being in the trenches and just trying to get better.
That makes sense. Cool. Alrighty. So that sounds great. Let's wrap it up. So, Fidel, where can we find you, and what are you currently offering? If it comes to, I don't know, coaching or whatever. When it comes to that.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. It's at Fidel_Guajardo, my last name. I always post stuff there on my stories. My YouTube is at Fidel Guajardo without the O at the end. I'm posting 2 to 3 videos a week, just trying to build a value on there. And then basically what I'm offering is like anyone who's already doing deals, but maybe they are not getting the return that they want or they're kind of stuck somewhere. With our marketing offer, we basically help you implement everything that we talked about as far as the marketing, where we help you build your in-house marketing system through Facebook ads. We teach you how to, record yourself, get creative. We set up your first campaigns. We monitor your campaigns, and basically our goal is to transfer like all my knowledge onto you so that you can have the same results that I've been having, because what I did for my business was crazy. It transformed it. So I know how hard we work as wholesalers and investors. So by basically, selfishly, it makes me feel good when I'm able to help someone. And I do really believe that bringing that in-house is kind of like the best thing that you could do. So that's kind of a little bit of what I'm offering. And besides that, yeah, I'm always like on the Instagram. If anyone has a question, they can send me a DM. And if not, they can subscribe to the channel. I'm posting a lot of like content on there as well.
That's awesome. All right, cool. Fidel, well, thank you so much. And we look forward to having you on in the future, okay?
Thank you, brother.
All right.